Hi everyone, Mrs. Bradshaw here. Today we are going to review volume before our Section A Unit 1 checkpoint. So the first thing we need to know is, what is volume? So volume is the amount of space that an object takes up. All right, so why would we care about that? Why would it matter? Well, if you went to go and buy a couch, we would kind of need to know what the volume of the couch is to see if it would fit within our living room. Volume is measured in cubic units. All right. Does anyone remember what cubic units is? Cubic units, we say units because we don't have the unit of measurement, but any type of feet, inches, centimeters, etc., would be a unit of measurement. So when it doesn't show us what unit of measurement it is, we would just use the word units. So there are two different formulas that we have been using for volume. So volume equals, we've said length times width times height. And we've also said volume equals base times height. And the base is if I had that empty box. Let's see if I can. I don't know if I can. Well, anyways, if I had that empty box, I would be taking those cubes and placing it on the bottom to see how many cubes would fit at the base of that box. That's what that means. And then I would multiply it by how many layers of cubes I can go high. That would be the height. So let's practice a few of these. So when you're watching this video, before I go over the problem, I always want you to pause your video and attempt to solve the problem on your own. So go ahead and pause now. All right, let's solve it together. So I need to find the volume. So I need to do this in two different ways. So I can use volume equals length times width times height, or I can use volume equals base, remember the bottom of the figure, times height. So to begin with, I'm going to solve it with this one, length times width times height. So I'm going to see how many blocks, how many cubes is it lengthwise, and I have 1, 2, 3. How many widthwise? I'm going to change my color so you can see. 1, 2, 2 wide, times a height. Again, I'm going to change my color. So 1, 2, 3 high. And then I can solve. 3 times 2 is 6. And then 6 times 3. And remember, whenever you see 6 times 3, this is saying 6 plus itself 3 times. So 12 plus 6, 18. So this is saying 6 times 3, which is, over here I proved it, is 18 units, because I don't have a unit of measurement, units cubed. Now let's say I didn't want to use this formula, or I just want to prove that this is correct. I can solve it over here. So base times height. So I need to figure out the base. I can't see all the cubes down here, but I know that that bottom layer is the same as the top layer. So I'm going to count the cubes in the top layer. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cubes for my base, times how many layers? I have 1 layer, which is this one, 2 layers, which is this one, 3 layers, which is this one. So 6 times 3, and we've already proved that 6 times 3 means 6 groups of 3, which is 18 units cubed. All right, well, going on to the next problem. Go ahead and pause the video and try this one. All right, let's solve it together. So volume equals length times width times height. Volume also can be solved doing base times height. So I'm going to solve length times width times height first. So for my length, I'm going to measure it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cubes for my length times my width, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times my width. And my height, remember that's asking how many layers there are. I have 1, 2 layers. So 5 times 5 is saying 5 groups of 5. So 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5, which I know is 25 times 2. So this is saying 25 plus 25. Another way that I can solve this is by doing 25 times 2 and writing it this way. 2 times 5 is 10 plus 1, carry my 1. 2 times 2 is 4 plus 1, which is 50. So 25 times 2 is 50 units cubed with a little tiny 3 up at the top, or 50 cubic units. You could write it either way. So let's solve it another way. So if it needed to ask me another equation for this figure, I could figure out what the base is. So let's do that. So I have the base, and remember I can't see all of the cubes on the bottom, but I know the bottom and the top are the same, so I'm going to count the cubes up there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. So my base is 25 cubic units, and I know that I have 1 layer, 2 layers. So 25 times 2. So if I was asked, what is another way to write this equation for volume, so 5 times 5 times 2, I could say 25 times 2 because that is base times height. And we've solved 25 times 2 over here, which is 50 units cubed or cubic units. All right, I want you to try this problem. All right, let's solve it together. So I wrote my 2 equations at the top, and I'm going to solve it with, let's do base times height first this time. So I'm going to look, I can't see all those cubes that are hidden under there, so I know that the top and the bottom are the same, so I'm going to count the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. My base, that bottom layer that I would lay inside that box, would hold 15 cubic units times height, which is how many layers or how many cubes high. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have 15 times 5. So I'm going to take this over to the side and line up my ones place. 15 times 5. 5 times 5, we solved that on the last problem, I know is 25. So carry my 2. 5 times 1 is 5 plus 2, which is 7. So 15 times 5 is 75 units cubed or cubic units. Okay, we want to solve it with the other equation. So if you were asked, what's another equation or what's another way to write the equation for volume? So instead of base times height, 15 times 5, I would do length times width times height, which we are about to solve. The length, 1, 2, 3, times the width, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, times the height, which we've already found out once, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 3 times 5 is 15. 15 times 5, we solved it over here, is 75 units cubed or cubic units. All right, moving on to the next problem. This time we have our empty box. So imagine again that you were handed this empty box and your boss asked you, how many cubes can we pack in this box to ship to our friend? Well, we don't know how many cubes it needs, so instead of sitting there and packaging it completely, we're going to figure out first, what is our base? How many cubes will fit on that bottom? So let's do that. So we're going to use volume equals base times height on this one. And my base, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And we know that there's a cube under there because if there wasn't, then we would be building those blocks up in the clouds and that wouldn't work because it would fall straight down because of gravity. 12, so there are 12 on the base, just to make sure, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, times height. So that's how many layers high. So on that box, you have your bottom layer and you want to see how many more layers up. So I had 1 layer from here, 2, 3 layers. So 12 times 3. I'm going to bring it over to the side and line it up by the ones place, by the place value. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 1 is 3. I know 12 times 3 is 36 cubic units or units cubed. It means the same thing. So if your boss came to you and said, hey, Michaela, how many blocks can I fit within this box? Instead of having to put them all in there, you could tell your boss that it's 36 units cubed. All right, let's try this next one. Pause the video. All right, let's solve it together. So in order to find volume, I'm going to use volume equals base times height. Your boss came to you and they said, hey, Grayson, I need to know how many blocks can fit within this box. Instead of wasting your time putting all the blocks for every single layer in there, you're just going to lay them on the bottom and see what is your base. So let's go ahead and count. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, and I know that I can't build anything in the clouds, so there's a 32nd block, 32 blocks underneath that tower. So the base is 32 blocks times the height. How many blocks did you stack it high, Angel? Let's see. If your boss asked you, you would have stacked it 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks high. So now I know the formula for volume on this is 32 times 4. So I'm just going to pull it over to the side to solve it and line it up by place value. So lining up that ones place. 32 times 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 3 is 12. 128 cubic units or units cubed. So instead of wasting your time stacking all of those blocks in there, 128 of them, you were able to find out really quickly with 32, 33, 34, 35 blocks that in order to fill the entire box, you would have needed 128 cubic units to fill that box.